So today we talk about the hyper-threading. If you thought about buying an Intel processor lately or a computer with an Intel processor installed, you may have heard them hyper-threading launching it to your eardrums. You probably are not familiar with this term unless you stay up to date with the nitty-gritty of computer hardware. Underlying hyper-threading is important, however, because it is a major feature on some Intel processor. Like most major processor feature, it can be twisted any turned by the seal wraps you meet. I will be Fry store employees tell me the hyper-threading effectively double the number of core on one processor. Although true in a sense, it mostly an exaggeration. A brief history of hyper-threading. Depending on when you last bought a computer, you may remember hyper-threading is a feature that Intel introduced and that discounted. This could understandable leave a sour taste in your mouth. Why would Intel discount it if it was not trouble? The truth is not so grim. Hyper-threading was for a time made available on Croatian Intel Pentium 4 and Intel Xeon processors. It was disconnected not because the feature itself was bad, but rather because the processor that used it turned out to be a bit of mistake of the reason. The Pentium 4 architecture was major distractor of Intel because it was incapable of going the direction Intel hoped. Intel wanted to have Pentium 4 processor with clock speed of up to 10 GHz. As a result, Intel jumped back to designing processor based on the Pentium Pro family tree. Hyper-threading was going but not forgotten. Intel eventually found the time and resource to integrate it into another new processor architecture, Nelium. This is the architecture that is the basis for all current Intel i3, i5 and i7 processor. Despite all of the advancement we are made in the world of processor, they still have a major limitation. An individual processor core can only execute one instruction at the time. Let's say for example that you have MS Office, Firefox and Skype all open at once. You feel like you're multitasking, but in processor terms you are not. The processor core executing data related to these programs execute one instruction at a time, but because it is quickly you do not notice any delay. But there is a delay. That delay is due to how the data from each program is fed to the processor. Each stream of data or thread into processor must be scheduled to execute the core individual. Hyper-threading, however, make it possible for each processor core schedule it and assign resource or to two threads at once. Imagine a work on an assembly line. There are two types of weight coming to here, and she needs to be different thing with each weight. However, sometimes there is a delay because the conveyor belt is so slow or because the wrong weight was sent at the wrong time. Hyper-threading is like adding another conveyor belt so that is now and detected to each type of weight. There is still only one worker, but now weights can be brought to her more quickly and efficiently, so she is waiting for work less often. Note the same as doubling core. If you boot up a dual core processor with hyper-threading and open Windows Task Manager, you will find yourself starting at 4 graphs. That is where most of the confusion about hyper-threading, doubling the number of cores, come into play. I even spoken with one poor fellow who thought I have purchased 8 core processor because he saw 8 graph in Windows Task Manager. That what the sleep rep told him. So when he went home and saw 8 graphs, he was shocked. Seeing was believing. 2 graphs appear in Windows for each core and hyper-threading processor because Windows is detecting 2 logical processor of each one cores. The terms logical processors sound fancy, but a logical processor is by definition a processor that has no physical extents. Windows can send threads to each logical processor, but there is still just one core doing the actual execution. So a single core with hyper-threading is dramatically different from two spared physical cores. The benefit of hyper-threading. Alright, enough with the technical mumbo jumbo. Now let's get down the most important part. However, hyper-threading will impact the performance of the computer are thinking of building or buying. In terms of day-to-day tasks like web browsing, email and word processing, hyper-threading won't have much of an impact. Yes, hyper-threading is theoretical better at multitasking. However, today processors are so fast the basic program are rarely limited by the speed of your processor. The way programs are coded can also be limitation. You may sometimes find that you have numerous programs open, but only of your processor cores is being put to much use that because the program are for whatever reason not having their work divided among the different core available. When you are trying to do some heavy lifting, however, hyper-threading can be more helpful. The application most likely to benefit are 3D rendering program, heavy duty audio video transcoding app and scientific application built for maximum multi-threading performance. But you may also enjoy a performance boost when encoding audio files in iTunes, playing 3D games and unzipping folder. The boost in performance can be up to 30%, although there will also be situations where hyper-threading provides not boost at all. Conclusion: as the performance boost figure of only 30% indicating hyper-threading is not the same as doubling the number of cores on a processor. If sales rep ever tells you that, be careful, because they either ignore it or happy to lie to you if they think it will help push hardware. With the said, hyper-threading is a cool feature and worth having as practically good if you like to edit media. Often use your computer as workstation for professional programming like Photoshop or Maya. So that's it. I'm MKP Captain and signing off the new video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, thumbs up and share and subscribe my channel.